Good evening. Welcome to the Ashland Planning Board meeting of Thursday, July 25th, 2019. It is about 7:21 here in the Selectmen's Meeting Room in Ashland Town Hall. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast by WACA Cable Access, and we thank them for that. On our agenda tonight, we have one major item, which is a scenic road permit for Eversource, and a few other administrative items. That said, I'm going to jump immediately into the public hearing because it is time for that. So I will read the notice. Notice of public hearing, notice of public discussion, Town of Ashland. In accordance with the provisions of the Ashland Scenic Road Bylaw, the Ashland Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, July 25th, 2019 at 7:15 p.m. in Ashland Town Hall, 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. On the petition of NSTAR Gas, doing business as Eversource Energy, Eversource, for approval of a scenic roads application for the Eversource Energy Hopkinton to Ashland Transfer Line Project in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 15C of Massachusetts General Laws and Chapter 249, Section 20 of the Town of Ashland Code. The project will replace approximately 3.71 miles of existing 6-inch diameter steel natural gas pipeline with 12-inch diameter steel natural gas pipe. The project consists of temporary disturbance within the existing pipeline easement at two designated scenic roads, Chestnut Street and Cedar Street, consisting of in-street construction and temporary removal and reassembly of existing stone walls, but no disturbance to nearby trees along the two scenic roads. Parties wishing to be heard on this matter should submit comments to the Planning Board ahead of time and/or appear at the time and place indicated above. Materials may be viewed at Town Hall during normal business hours. For more information or to submit comments, please contact Peter Matchak at 508 Is this phone number correct here?
Yes.
532? 0100 extension 7927. I thought it would be 881.
Maybe it's his mobile.
Oh, it's your. Okay, I thought that was.
Special.
I don't know. Or at pmatchak@ashlandmass.com. And this has been properly posted and advertised as required for public hearings. So this is a big, large project, and this permit, if granted, would cover one very small aspect of it.
Correct.
So. With that, is the applicant here? Yeah. Would the applicant like to speak or say where we are tonight on this?
Thank you. My name is Rick Paquette. I'm with TRC, consulting engineer for Eversource Energy, and I'm here tonight with Matt Waldrop, environmental manager for the project with Eversource, Sean Berthume, the senior gas engineer for the project, and Melissa Hancock with community relations for Eversource for the project. I have a brief PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to go through. Just gives you a high level kind of background on the project, and then focuses in on the purpose of tonight's meeting, which is the two scenic road crossings. So we'll go through that right now for you.
Okay.
So the transfer line replacement project, it's a proposed replacement of an existing 6-inch diameter distribution pipe that extends from a location in Hopkinton on the east central portion of Hopkinton into Ashland. The replacement length is 3.7 miles, of which about 1.1 miles is in Hopkinton, and the remaining 2.6 is in Ashland. The purpose of the project is to address a pressure reduction in the line And I'll give you a little background on that. Currently, the transfer line, there's a 12-inch diameter segment on the very western end and a 12-inch diameter segment on the very eastern end of this pipeline. However, the center portion of the pipeline is 6-inch diameter, so there's a pressure drop because of that diameter change. So by replacing that 6-inch section to make it all 12-inch, that'll be addressed, which will improve performance and reliability of the whole system in the Framingham, Ashland greater area. The line runs at maximum operating pressure of 450 pounds per square inch, and it has a maximum allowable operating pressure of 800 pounds per square inch. So this project, we've been in the, I call it the permitting phase for over a year now. There's been a lot of community outreach with regards to open house meetings in both Hopkinton and Ashland. This project is subject to review by the Energy Facility Siting Board, so there was a public hearing held for that. We're in the middle of our Conservation Commission meetings right now as well. We've also been through a MEPA review, and other agency reviews are ongoing as well with Mass DEP, and we've actually already filed and received a permit from the Corps of Engineers for the project. So we've received some approvals, and we're currently seeking other approvals right now for the project. Oops, let me go back one. Hold on. So, as I mentioned before, the scope of the project here is the crossing of 2 scenic roads in Ashland. The pipeline in Ashland, the 6-inch line, lies within a generally 20-foot wide easement, although there is one section where it's actually 30 feet. But at the Chestnut Street and Cedar Street crossings of the pipeline, it's a 20-foot wide permanent easement. The pipe is basically buried with 3 feet of cover over it, and the pipe, this is just a pipeline project, so there's no new above-ground facilities proposed as part of this. And just on a big picture, I'll touch on the schedule. The project is being proposed in phases over the course of 5 years, with about 4,000 feet of pipe being constructed during each construction season for the year, starting in basically 2020. Oops, wrong way, sorry about that. So this figure here, I put it up here just to show you I'm sure you're all familiar with Chestnut Street and Cedar Street, but those blue arrows point to the locations where the existing pipe and easement cross those 2 streets. If you can see that, I got a laser pointer here. There. And that's Cedar Street right there, and that's Chestnut Street. And I'll just mention this I mentioned to you in the previous slide how this is going to be phased for construction. So this gives a general outlay of the segments that will be constructed from west to east. So the areas that we're talking about for proposed construction, it would be 2023 and 2024. So at the back end of that 5-year construction period.
Just one question while you're on that page. Oh, if you could, go back. So this line originates in that large gas facility in Hopkinton, right?
The transfer line starts at the Wilson Street Gate Station in Hopkinton, which is, it's not within the LNG facility, it's right next to it, right, Sean?
That's right.
Right. So it starts right near it in this Wilson Street Gate Station. There's a 12-inch segment of pipe that runs out of there already. It ends right there, and that's where the 6-inch diameter line begins. So that's it. So it's near, but not in that facility.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the time frame on this, I see part of that says 2019. Is that real?
No, that was, this figure hasn't been updated. That was, previously our plan was to start construction in 2019, but the permitting process is not complete, and at this point, we won't be constructing in 2019.
So probably add one to all those years.
Correct. So it would, we would start construction in 2020, and instead of ending in 2023, it'd be 2024, provided all our permit is received.
Right.
So with the application, I provided drawings, engineer drawings showing the plan view and profile view of the crossings of both Chestnut Street and Cedar Street. The drawing that I put up here, I just did a little bit of coloring. So this gray shaded area, that's the paved portion of Chestnut Street. This yellow highlighted section is the easement width, and then the dark black line here is the proposed pipe that crosses through there. So that's the Chestnut Street crossing. I do have a photo. So this view here shows, this is standing on the west side of Chestnut Street looking east. There's a residence here, and then the apartment complex on Joanna Drive lies behind that, and you can see that yellow post is a pipe marker that crosses Chestnut Street here. So that's looking towards the east. And looking towards the west, sorry, this is not a great picture, but the pipe marker sits here, and you can see a lot of more smaller vegetation has grown in the easement there, but the larger trees are rooted outside the 20-foot easement in this area. And there's a kind of remnant of or dilapidated old stone wall that kind of extends partially into the easement here. You can see it's pretty buried with debris from the leaves and the trees in that location. This other drawing I showed here is the Cedar Street crossing. Again, the gray area here is the paved road surface. The yellow represents the footprint of the easement, and the heavy black line I show the proposed pipeline to be installed across Cedar Street and ending just on the east side of the road where it switches from that 6-inch or into that 12-inch, and it's already 12-inch heading towards the east. So this vantage point for this photo is standing on the west side of Cedar Street, looking towards the east. You can see some stones along the edge there, down tree on that side of the easement. But you can see the opening there for that 20-foot wide easement. And there is a home that's located on the west side of Cedar Street where the easement goes through. So I think it actually runs somewhere in this driveway area here. The pipe marker is off the view of the photo. So the package included some typical details showing how the pipe would be installed across the roadway. There's existing utilities in the road already. I think there's some gas lines and drainage lines, water lines in there now. It's a perpendicular crossing across both Chestnut and Cedar Street. And Sean can speak to any of the details, but in general, there'll be a traffic management plan, street opening permits. The restoration will be done in accordance with the town's specifications with regards to the cutting of the pavement. And obviously, the Eversource will work with the town to ensure that there's adequate of management and flow of traffic during construction. Sean, did you want to add anything on that side of it, or did I? You good?
I believe it's there for now.
Okay. Yeah, I put in this is again in the package. This just shows you a typical cross section of the trench where the new pipe is shown here in green with the trench width. It'd be a pretty narrow trench, 2.5 to 3 feet in width. And like I said, the backfill generally is put 3 feet of cover over the top of the pipe, but in the road crossing where there's other utilities, that'll vary depending on exactly where those utilities are and their depths in terms of going underneath those existing utilities. And this just, again, just shows some schematics with regards to crossing an existing utility. And we already actually touched on the schedule here. So, you know, the work under the current proposal with the +1 on the year, work would start at the very western end of Ashland where the transfer line comes into town in 2021 and basically get to Cedar Street by 2024. And that's the presentation. So thank you. We're here to answer any questions.
Any immediate questions from the board?
I think just a question on the order. I mean, this seems like a very, I'm new on the board, so I'm not sure, but it seems like a detail that would come at the end of a process when this whole, I mean, obviously it's a very hot topic in Ashland right now, the path of this pipeline, and so why is this detail being looked, this small detail being looked at now versus when there's more information about yes, no, if this change is going to be happening?
Thank you for that question. I'm Matt Waldrop with Eversource. I handle the siting and permitting for our gas projects in Massachusetts. To answer your question, the way the process typically works, as Rick had mentioned, we are before the Energy Facility Siting Board to approve the project, and they are really the head honcho in this permitting process. They tell us if they are going to approve the preferred route or if we have to go entirely in streets. And as part of that process, they consider input from local boards and commissions, so they actually like us to start the local permitting process while that proceeding is going on. So if something came out of these meetings that you wanted a certain condition on, you know, how it was repaved, or if, for instance, any of the other local boards like the Conservation Commission wanted wetlands restored a certain way, they would put that in as part of their approval as well. So they actually like to see these processes start during their proceeding. Now, say for instance, if they came back and said, actually, you have to go into the streets, we don't want you to take the route you've proposed, which is in the easement. At that point, it would be on us to withdraw any applications we had before the town's local boards and refile for the route that the EFSB said we could build. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just adding on that, could you please tell us where the process stands currently in Hopkinton and then also in front of the Conservation Commission?
Yes, so for Hopkinton, we have the local order of conditions from their Conservation Commission. We have just actually filed a few weeks ago with their planning board for an earth removal permit and a stormwater permit and a scenic road permit. The reason we waited to file those was because the company actually was trying to decide whether or not we were actually going to trip the thresholds that required a permit. We were kind of right on the edge, so we looked into it a little further and determined that we were going to file after all just to be safe. So that's the reason we waited to file those, but we did file the order of conditions many months ago, and I don't recall when we received it, but it was back around winter time. We received the order of conditions from the Hopkinton Conservation Commission.
And how about here in Ashland?
In Ashland, we're still carrying out the Conservation Commission meetings. It appears right now we will be on the August 26th agenda for that meeting, and we hope that we were planning to provide them with all the supplemental information they've requested and hope to close the hearing, if not that hearing, the next following hearing in early September.
Okay, thank you.
And the only other, from a planning board's standpoint, the only other permit I could think of is possibly a site alteration permit if they are doing more than, I think, 100 yards of fill or removal anywhere, which they probably wouldn't hit but it's something to
That
be
would-
aware of.
That would be in any one location, would that, how that works, Preston?
I would think so.
Right, so
The-
the
the
2 foot,
definition
5
of,
foot trench, probably.
yeah, well, if they're removing and then putting back the same amount, then I don't think that's
I don't think it trips.
that doesn't trip it.
It doesn't trip it.
Yeah,
No.
but it's just something to watch out for in the event that any of your plans involve significant amount of adding or removing permanently.
Understood, thank you.
So just maybe I can speak to that. So our intention is to not haul away any soil, or at least as much as possible. The intent would be, it would be casted aside on the easement and then put back in the trench after the pipe was laid in there. Obviously, the detail that Rick went over showed some sand padding in the trench, and obviously the volume of the pipe will displace some soil, but what we find is, as we're excavating, we're gonna pull out rocks and things like that we will not put back in the trench on top of our pipe. So the volume of rocks that we will remove and take off the site, we won't leave them there. Some of the excess soil that makes up from the volume of the pipe displacement kind of goes back in. So we don't expect really any at all of having to remove soil from the site.
The current pipe, what is the current pipe made of? Just,
It's also made of steel.
okay.
And can you tell us the age of the pipe?
The original pipe was installed around 1951, 1952.
That's good. And so, just to clarify what this petition is asking for, this, as this is laid out, this petition is asking to disassemble and reassemble a scenic stone wall on Chestnut Street.
Correct.
And what is it asking on Cedar?
Same thing.
Just a disassemble and a reassemble of a stone wall.
Correct, and looking through the bylaws, a stone wall, the definition of stone wall is a continuous line of dry laid stones, at least 2 courses high, at least 10 feet long, and at least 50 years old.
Yeah, either that old.
I think they are.
Okay. Well, we've had some come up that weren't that old in some projects that.
Mhm. I think it's, the 2 courses, I think, it's the walls there have obviously slumped over the years. Is it still a working farm fence, New England stone wall? I would question that.
Are they gonna
But-
put them back to the same state they were, or is it gonna be one little nice section of wall and the
So
rest is
no,
still
they
gonna be-
they would have to place the rocks back in the same order that they found them in, and so,
So it's not gonna be like just naturally falling apart and then all of a sudden one nice little section in there?
no, it would be nicely put back in a nicely fallen apart way. But yeah, I would say documentation would have to, part of the conditions of any approval would be documentation would have to be submitted, and that could be overseen, through the planning office with Eversource, or documentation of the existing stone wall, prior to any construction, and then therefore after construction, when they would be replacing the stones, that documentation could therefore show the before and the after pictures for a
Right.
comparison.
And just for confirmation, would the applicant confirm that what our planning director said is correct?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. We would typically photo document before and after.
What length needs to be taken out in that to get the pipe in? Yeah.
Width-wise, I would say to be safe, we would probably plan on taking the entire width of the easement out, just so we have a clear working space. However, the stone wall that's at Cedar Street, that's where our project is going to end. When we excavate for our tie-in there, the actual location may be actually on the Cedar Street side of the stone wall. So there is a chance that we may not have to actually touch that stone wall at all. The one that's on the east side of Cedar Street. But in the event we did, I would say to be safe, we would,
20 feet.
yeah, 20 feet of the wall.
And what's the check process, I guess, when these things happen, about who goes and verifies that, yep, it's approved, it's okay, we like it, or nope, go back and do it again. Doesn't look like it's supposed to look, you know.
In that case, I would as a town planner.
Could we require security for the work in the event that they decide they do need to move the stone wall? They could have to file some sort of security bond with the town, and then that security is released back to them in the event that you confirm that, yes, the work has been done properly.
Yeah. Yep. The board on a decision could request or make a condition upon, surety of the estimated cost of the value of the work to be done prior to construction be posted with the planning board. And that would be act like very similar to a subdivision, very similar to how a planning board takes surety and bonds in any subdivision roadway layout project.
So I know in most cases we haven't done that with scenic roads, but most of the scenic road projects haven't been 3 or 4 years out, and most of them have been connected with other projects for which there was security. So this.
Yeah, and looking at
It's a
the
little
map, the road crossings that are proposed are in years 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think prior to construction upon the scenic ways, surety could be posted if that is a condition that this board wants to put in a decision.
One thing I would mention too is just the schedule we put before you is estimated, and it could be accelerated potentially depending on how construction goes. Hopefully it wouldn't be delayed, but I just want to know that the start and end point where we show is approximate. We may be able to improve upon that, or it might be slightly less than what we show.
I would just say prior to construction.
Well, yeah.
Upon the scenic way crossing,
Yeah.
you can kind of put it
Right.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Prior
then-
disturbance.
Mm-hmm.
And then this petition, anything above 8 inches in size is what needs to be permitted through us. And this petition does not include the cutting of any trees 8 inches or greater, correct?
Yeah, we conducted a survey of the easement to identify where there are some actual trees, and we didn't identify, and I think we used a cutoff of 3 or 4 inch diameter breast height, so we didn't find anything above that. So
Okay.
it's mostly just at the west side of Chestnut Street, but there's a lot of small,
Right.
inch, 2 inch thing.
Below with which you need to
Right.
get our permit.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's really just,
Stone
this
wall.
petition is 2 stone walls and 1 is a potential, depending on the location of your tie-in.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else from the planning board before I get public comment? All right, this is a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, may I add one last thing?
Yes,
If
you
I
may.
may, for the board to consider. I just wanted the board to know that at the state level involving stone wall work and any cultural work, we do have to file a project notification form, or PNF, with MHC, Mass Historic Commission, and they typically consider any crossing of stone walls. So, and we do have a letter from them that says they do not expect any adverse effects to cultural resources, and that does include stone walls that we cross. So I just wanted to make the board aware of that.
Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. Any public comment, you will need to come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, and then we'd be happy to hear whatever comments you have on this.
Okay, good evening. Mark Lasoni, 49 Hawthorne Road. I'm going to just try to be simple and technical at the same time about this. The cutouts, and I asked them before the meeting about the easements. The picture you took off of Chestnut Street by Joanne Drive showed a yellow pipeline marker. I want to know how close to your easement is that to theirs? So they have an easement too. And if they didn't
Mark.
mark it out, there's got to be an easement.
No,
That's
that-
through the chairman to them. I would like
No.
to have that.
Those posts, there is an existing pipe there.
Yep.
That is their pipe. They are replacing their old pipe with a new pipe. So those markers are part of their easement for their existing pipe that they are replacing.
Okay, okay, that's their marker to their pipe. And it says Eversource on the taping, Eversource Gas and Company, on the,
It just says pipeline.
It might say NSTAR, our predecessor.
but it is yours.
It is ours, correct?
So that's your easement then,
That's correct.
okay? And what you showed in that picture was the remnants of the stone wall and the vegetation around. Is this easement, if I see the other plans, I saw the earlier plans that you brought to the Ashland Library that the conservation agent did on March 28th of 2018. Are those, your easements still about 20 feet? So that pipe going in where that stone wall is that stone wall within that 20 feet easement? So now you have to dig that out and put your pipe there. How would you replace a stone wall back if you dig it up and the pipe's gonna be there? That's one. Cedar Street, is that the one that's near the top of the hill? And the road right next, it's called Marbury, I think it is. There's a house, there's a couple houses there, right, or is it further down the hill? On top of the hill by Elliott Street, or down the hill going towards the Fairfield Workman Circle?
I would say it's closer to Elliott Street.
Yeah, it's just, so the easement crossing is just to the south, I think it's Captain.
Yeah, that's Workman Circle. Yeah, that's Workman Circle area. Yeah, that's down the hill, around the corner, past the stone marker on one side, and so you could be heading towards their Workman Circle, the Captain Eames, and taking there towards 126, finding the transfer station off the 126.
No, our project will end at Cedar Street.
Okay. And see, at Captain Eames Circle, that end of it right there.
That's correct.
And it ends because that's where the pipe you're connecting this pipe to.
Yeah, from
Is.
that point all the
Goes
way
back
to
up to-
the station that's on 126 is already 12 inch.
Got it.
And that's the same 20-foot easement width?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Moscato, 73 Brayburn Lane. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. I just had a point of clarification. This petition that is being filed this evening, does this pertain just to the stone walls? Or is it also pertaining to the replacement pipe as well?
This is just the stone walls. That is the only thing the planning board has jurisdiction over for this project. The fact that they are showing us, cross sections of how the trenching works is informational. It doesn't necessarily have any real bearing on how we vote on this, because when
So
it
it's
right.
just the stone wall, it has nothing to do with the overall pipeline project?
Yeah, when it comes to the vote, all we have that we can consider is the stone wall, because that's all that's within our jurisdiction for this permit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, Roberta Silman, 28 Woodridge Lane. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to look at the maps where the stone walls were beforehand. I just have a quick question. I know where Joanne Drive is, but is this going to have any impact or get anywhere near close to the stone walls at Warren Woods, near the intersection of Chestnut and Elliott Streets?
Based on what I'm seeing, no.
Yeah.
No.
When their picture of Chestnut you could see the apartments in the background.
Right.
So that puts it
Way
really
down.
close to Main Street.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
maybe, I would say about 500 feet from the intersection of Main Street and Chestnut,
okay,
roughly.
okay,
I
so it
don't know
doesn't
if it's
go
Main or
anywhere.
Prospect at that point, but
Nowhere
Yeah,
near,
excuse me, Prospect.
yeah.
it's not near the Warren Center.
Okay, great, just wanted to check that, thank you.
Right. Any other public comment on this?
So at this current time, the applicant is also in front of the Conservation Commission. Really, our permit has no jurisdiction over the Conservation Commission's permit. The permit that in front of the board is really only concerning trees and stone walls that are within the public right-of-way on the scenic road. As mentioned tonight, there's no trees above the 8-inch requirement at breast height. Within the right-of-way, they're looking to remove. So therefore, the stone walls are the only item within the jurisdiction within the public right-of-way tonight. And as mentioned by the applicant, the application is still pending with the utility siting board within the state. So therefore, we can kind of, the next step would be to either move forward and make a decision on this application pertaining to the stone walls along these two crossings and with the work within the right-of-way, or continue the hearing until the Conservation Commission has the ability to have one more meeting with the applicant and then then come to a decision at a later point. But really, it's really up to the board at this point to make a decision, with the applicant's understanding what direction that this committee wants to move forward with.
So the conservation, if they have a problem with one of these walls and we already approved it, is that an issue?
As long as it's outside of their I don't believe that the stone walls are within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission is looking at the route and then any work that's being done
Wetlands
or
and all
proposed
that.
within the wetlands, and the Conservation Commission has any jurisdiction within 100 feet of a wetland. Well, any work or trench work that would be proposed within 100 feet, I would say through or surrounding a wetland. So therefore, I would say if the stone walls are outside of the 100-foot regulation, then they're two different things, two different permits.
So there's no reason to really wait for them.
It's up to the board to make a decision, and we can move forward and kind of clear this off of the agenda as things start to heat up.
That would be
Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you wanna go first?
No, go ahead.
I think that, obviously these kinds of stone walls are all over Ashland and all over Massachusetts probably, right? I had one in my old backyard. You just kind of find them hidden down in the woods. And some, I'm sure, I'm not an expert on it by any means, and some of them are probably of more historic value and some aren't, right? And so we have to take that into consideration, and it's probably a normal part of construction in this area of the country, putting things and putting it back. My concern in this project, which is a loaded project in the community, everybody knows that, right? There's some very strong opinions about it that I think haven't been, shaken out, at this point. And but my concern is that an approval and going forward would seem to constitute an implicit approval of the project as a whole, versus only this part, maybe even to the Conservation Commission, that approval of this board's like, yeah, we think this is okay with the whole thing, when really we're like, no, we're just dealing with these two little walls. One might not even be affected, and the other one is barely visible right now above the growth in that area. So I don't want the decision of this board affecting the larger debate that's going on in the town about, which has a much larger impact than these two little points that we're talking about. So that's my concern about doing it in this order versus the larger issues that the Conservation Commission has to work through. So,
I agree with you, so I would say at this point, if there's no public comment and that's the direction the board wants to go into, I would ask the applicant to request a continuance to a meeting, in the future. The Conservation Commission is not going to meet again, correct me if I'm wrong, it was August 29th you were in front of the Conservation Commission? August 26th, okay, so August 26th, which would be a Monday night, our two planning board meetings in August would be August 8th and then August 22nd, and then that would push us to September 12th. And so if the direction the board wants to move into is to have the applicant request a continuance, I would suggest September 12th is the date we put this on our agenda next.
My thoughts are, the two things I'm kind of interested in doing before voting on this are, one, going out and actually looking myself instead of just relying on their photos, because I haven't done that. And two, I'd kind of like to have a decision written up. So the decision that we're gonna sign is before us, before we vote, so we have that. Any draft decision, I would want a condition for providing security for the work before there is any disturbance of stone walls. And I don't know what the appropriate dollar amount is. We would want somebody to give a competent number on that, not me. So the two things I would like to have before voting.
in that same document, no matter when that goes through, can there also be a statement, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, you have to tell me, that if it's the will of the board, that it doesn't imply anything further than the thing that we have actually voted on? Is that,
Yeah,
maybe doesn't,
I think that's a good idea. I think it should be very clear in the description of the decision. We should put in a paragraph about how the planning board has not reviewed the whole project and considered the overall appropriateness of the project in any way, because it is outside the jurisdiction of this particular permit.
Okay.
And so, as such, this permit should not be taken in any way as an endorsement of the project by the planning board. I think that would, verbiage to that effect, I think would be perfectly appropriate.
Okay.
That's good.
So it's September 12th is at the next hearing date, which would be after the next Conservation Commission?
Yeah,
So
I
at
think
this
that's
time, would Eversource make a request a continuance to September 12th on the record, and therefore we can move forward? And then the game plan moving forward would allow you in this application to move through the Conservation Commission, and your next meeting would be with the Ashland Conservation Commission prior to coming back and receiving a final decision with the planning board.
Actually, we would want two continuances. We want the continuance for the hearing to September 12th. We would also want, in writing, this could be handwritten on a piece of paper is fine, a extension on the deadline to consider this application.
Correct.
To 1 week later, which would be, what, the 19th? We always want an extra week to get the
That'd be
paperwork
September
filed.
19th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can file our decision within the next week after that.
Sure, okay,
So-
so September 19th.
Yes, September 19th for filing the decision deadline extension request, and then the extension for the public hearing to September 12th.
Okay.
And since it's a public hearing, it has to be at a specific time.
I would just put 7:15.
So,
It'll be
yeah,
the
we'll
first.
say
That's the
7:15.
first. That's gonna be the first hearing of the night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's fine with us. We want to make sure you're comfortable with your review, and if you want us to help facilitate a site visit too, we certainly can. speak further to the means and methods in the field if you like, but we're fine with continuing in the manner you just described.
Okay, at least at one of them, there's the yellow post, so it's very easy to see.
Yes. Yeah, and they're all close enough to the public way, so.
So, yeah, I think we're okay just going out there. If anybody has trouble locating the exact location, we'll tell Peter and he can let you know and we can coordinate.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
I think there might be pipe markers at both locations.
Yeah.
Should be.
All right. So with that, is there a motion to accept their extension on the deadline to continue to reach a decision until September 19th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. And is there a motion to continue this public hearing to September 12th at 7:15 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0.
Good coaching.
And that hearing will be in the same location. So, with that, that is our main item for tonight. We have some minutes and administrative matters.
You can go through that, I'm just gonna see, talk to these folks. To get the continuance.
Oh, yes, yeah, so, yeah, Peter's gonna get the paperwork we need. We have minutes. Let's jump ahead to the minutes. I believe we have June 13th and 27th. Should be in here somewhere.
Order number 2.
Too bad we can't get you an email and read them ahead.
Don't be a complainer, Dale.
I was being sarcastic.
Alright, sounds good. Do you have my email? Okay, awesome. Just get my email.
For the TV, could we take a brief recess? Sure. Until we're done reading the minutes? Welcome back. We are continuing our planning board meeting with various administrative things. We've been reading the minutes off camera to save you some of that boredom. We're looking at the minutes of June 13th. Any comments on these corrections? I have a minor nitpick on the second page, line 59. Mr. Crow asked for comments from the audience. It feels better to me to say from the public.
We have an audience.
It's just a semantic difference.
I know, but it does
Yeah.
make a difference.
So, I'm sorry.
No, just the one word. Go ahead.
So 46 and 47, page 2. Tricia actually initially asked about the rate of development bylaw. So, and I think that the following sentence, and Mr. Connors responded, there'll be 7 to 8 months of technical road work before permits are pulled. Yeah, I did think he responded with that, but he was basically saying that he was gonna get on the other side of that, the rate of development,
Yeah, correct, yes,
Okay.
because it does, but
so,
there's a sunset clause within that permit.
okay, so
I mean,
so it'd be,
within that bylaw, it sunsets.
understood. So I'm saying, so Trish asked about the rate of development bylaw and its applicability
Mhm.
to this. And then, and Mr. Connors responded that there will be 7 to 8 months of technical road work before permits are pulled, putting the project on the other side of the sunset clause, just,
Yep.
so it's a complete.
So it'd just be
want me
to
to do
start
it
with,
again?
just change Mr. Rubertone to Ms.
Mrs. Kendall, yep.
Ms.
Ms.
Unless
yeah,
she wants
about-
Mrs.
No, Ms. is good.
Okay.
About the rate of development bylaw and its applicability. Right, and then,
Yep, all building permits, outside
of the sunset date on the,
of sunset date.
yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
I assume Ms. because that's what it was in
And
other
I'll add the
places.
date.
Yes.
I'll go back, cause I know it was in November of 2016, and I think it was for 3 years.
Sounds right.
And so it's gonna be up, it
This
would
November.
sunset in November.
Right.
Yep,
Yeah.
November 19th of 2019.
Not trying to be pedantic, it just cleans up the,
Yep.
that we,
I agree.
Are we just doing one group of minutes at a time?
Yeah.
Or do you want all comments?
There's one, too, on 55 through 57 with the list of requests. Wasn't one of the requests as well, like speed bumps if possible on Whittemore? From the residents? I thought that was in the list of requests.
so it was in the list from the residents, but I personally didn't, think that, going speed bumps, I don't think I asked about that. I think I touched the stop signs and I don't think I said do a speed bump, or, I don't know if I highlighted that. But you're right, it was on the requests. They did request it. There's no, from my perspective, there's no precedent example in town where we did that.
I think somebody mentioned it, but nobody on the board, a member of the public mentioned it, but nobody on the board reiterated that. So I think the minutes are accurate as written.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know nobody mentioned it because at least those of us who've been on the board for a while know that DPW hates the idea of putting in speed bumps on anything they'll end out plowing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I also think it's just like an odd precedent to get into unless you're in like a condo,
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
DPW does not do speed bumps if they can avoid it.
Yeah, they do, yeah, agreed.
They take them out, is what they do.
They take them out.
They deinstall them.
Well, they don't even like islands.
Aggressively.
They don't like islands and.
They don't like a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, those
actually, there's debate on that. I hear some people in DPW like it because they can just kind of go circle around, and some people hate it because it all depends on how they like to plow them.
Okay.
So, 81 through 83, reading these minutes reminds me that I owe you some notes, Peter, from that zoning discussion where right? I said I was gonna type up
Yes.
notes, so I need to get that to you.
Yep.
Cause we need that for fall right, we wanna do that in fall?
Yeah.
Yeah. Notes for use table changes
Yeah.
to Peter. Yeah,
And yeah,
that
we
just
should-
reminds me that I need to give it to you.
We should talk about that because this is the appropriate time, and we should probably have a public hearing on that sometime in September to open up the warrant.
Yeah,
As the warrant opens, and kind of get that moving.
I definitely want, like, from my perspective, I definitely wanna make sure we get that one in, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I gotta do that. Sorry for.
No, it's good.
That's good, okay.
That finish the comments on June 13th? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 13th, 2019 as amended?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0.
I will take the first one, you get the second.
We're going on to June 22nd. The lines of 6, 7 seem
Yeah, this is,
confusing. I don't know what that means. Member were present. Oh,
this is, and who's this John Rossi guy?
He's gone.
He was not a member on.
He just got copied in.
Yeah,
Mike
so this-
Mulkey's long.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of
Extra people.
extra stuff.
I think
Okay.
So
He was on
Preston
the last
Chair
one,
called the
too.
meeting to order with me there.
Nick was on the last one too.
yeah, so on the last one,
I
Bill-
just assumed that was.
Oh, this was one where
This
we
is
didn't
no
actually
quorum.
have
Quorum.
quorum.
This was the no quorum.
So we don't
So-
have to approve these.
Yeah.
These aren't official minutes.
Yeah.
well, that's good because
Yeah.
on line 72, I seconded something, but I wasn't present.
Yeah.
That's good. You are good.
Yeah, I would put, and
That's
there
all I
was no
had.
motion to adjourn because it wasn't a
Correct, it
formal
wasn't,
meeting.
yeah.
I would like to file minutes that said,
No.
leave off the call to order
Yeah.
and just say that Preston Crowe and Joe Ruberton and
Me.
and you were present.
Yeah.
Um,
No quorum.
And
We agreed to allow the,
Yeah.
we agreed to allow the RTD to present the
And
material.
then,
Presentation, move forward.
and then leave lines 9 through 11.
Yep.
And just only
I would pull 14.
and just say and reviewed the agenda. Drop items that will be addressed, and then
And leave the public discussion.
I would take that, to me, take that public
I
hearing
would
and
l-
village out, because that's.
That didn't even, yeah, that has to be.
I would leave it
removed.
in because it was. I mean,
agree with
this
you.
is just a
Yeah.
so people know. Hey, this happened. It wasn't a formal meeting. We don't actually have to file any minutes, but I want something just briefly so that somebody says what happened. You know,
That's fine.
it's a
That's fine,
useful
sure.
record.
Okay.
John Rossi should be taken off both the June
Yeah.
22nd and the June 13th.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh,
Okay.
We have to
thank
read-
you for catching that.
That was Phil. Like,
Yeah.
We don't usually state the associate member's absence, do we, Preston?
Yeah. Well, we don't need to list absent.
makes sense.
Yeah, I would leave out the whole absent section. But then just, I would just put in very briefly, I don't think I would leave in the full description,
Okay.
but just say,
So, the 24th through 29.
And I talked.
I would just say, that something about, he presented a he,
Okay.
he,
Made a
he did a
presentation.
presentation on the proposed, development.
Okay. Why don't I
For-
work on it and then I can send it
Yeah.
out to the committee.
But keep it short and then put a note at the end, that, because there was because technically there was no minutes, no meeting, these are being filed as minutes for informational purposes only, or something like that, you know. So they're kind of unofficial, but we can just have it so there's a record.
I think page 2, line 50, 51, 52, it says, Mr. Crow concluded that the pending question, I don't think you wanna say that. We
Yep.
didn't have a meeting. You don't wanna conclude anything,
Yep.
right? 50, 51, 52, right, Mr. Crow concluded.
Yeah, I'm gonna take all
Yeah,
this. I'm gonna take
yeah,
all this
that's-
out.
This should literally be
I
like,
did not,
this is what Tom Powers said to us about this project, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's it,
yeah,
cause that's all it was.
yeah, and we didn't provide feedback
Correct.
because we didn't have quorum
We
and
had
it
a
wouldn't
meeting,
have been appropriate.
Right, it was like a presentation.
And I
Yeah.
talked to Mike Mokey, and he's waiting by the phone. I'm wondering why I haven't called him in.
His wife said that.
So he comes in, like if someone's gonna be absent?
He can only vote on a special permit as
Yeah.
the associate
Oh.
member. So if we have a special permit and we are concerned that we might not, because of the absences of members, might not have a full board that can vote on it, we can have the associate member come in
Okay,
Oh,
and fill in
okay.
to replace any one member who is gone. Because you have to have 4 people say yes on a special permit.
Okay.
You can tell him that the meetings are open to the public. He's welcome to come anytime he
he
wants.
doesn't like sitting over there, probably, huh?
Chairs on
He'll
his
come in and sit over here.
All right, with that, I believe we have, reports.
This is myself and Emma's second planning board meeting as a team, so everything is moving forward. I can say from, reports from the planning board, we did receive the complete application of 81 West Union Street Phase 2. And that has been filed, and there'll be a hearing on that on August 22nd. And so that project was filed for, obviously for the storage, for the development of that site, which is
More storage?
they are asking to put in contractor bays, rental contractor bays, and so, and with this development, Emma has put all site plan and the stormwater report up onto the town's website. And so we are starting to use, and Emma is using the town website as a place to store and promote, well, not promote, but I would say circulate to all town residents that are interested in the projects, all information that's filed with this planning board.
Rather
That is
than
for public
co-organize, you
consumption.
can maybe get rid of that.
Yeah, and that's something that this board will have to meet on, and that I would add, that's why I'm gonna ask this board to go on to the town website and actually look how Emma has set up the town website for the projects. Because Co-Urbanize is a great tool, however, the town pays a lot of money for Co-Urbanize, and applicants pay money for Co-Urbanize. However, we have a very good website, and we can use the tools on the website that exist to us for free to put the documents up on
That would be good.
the website so the public can see the site plans and all the reports of that nature. So I'm not too sure about the history of Co-Urbanize and when Co-Urbanize was adopted by the town. In my eyes, maybe the Co-Urbanize was adopted prior to the implementation and the installation of the town's current website. And so we are doing things with the town website that we can do with Co-Urbanize. So the question is, does this board want to, and I'm not looking for an answer tonight, I would say think about this and go on both website, and I would say
Okay.
weigh the pros and the cons. do we want to move forward using the website? And then having people that want to comment on the projects email the planning board at Ashland, Mass, which comes to both Emma and I, and then we can circulate those and put it in the binder at the meetings. Or would you like to continue on with co-urbanize and continue charging a user fee for co-urbanize? I think it's appropriate to use the town website and move away from co-urbanize. However, if this committee wants to continue to use co-urbanize, please speak up, because I think we can do both, but but they're doing the same thing. So we're almost duplicating the amount of work we have to do for the same outcome.
Is co-urbanize just really used for planning board things, or are there other departments that utilize it?
So the planning office is the only department in Ashland that uses co-urbanize.
Okay.
I mean, that uses the tool, the website. All other committees, boards, departments use the town website.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're the,
Yeah, the
so
town used it
I think
for
we
the
should-
downtown initiative at one point, but that was like a one-off thing. And probably because the planning board has the entry fee already paid. I think there are a lot of features of co-urbanize that we never picked up on that go beyond what we could do with the town website. So there is potential there, but I think it'll always be potential, because I don't think we're gonna go beyond what we're doing for the most part, so.
I think we check it out, look
Is
at
there-
it and see.
Yeah.
Any extra cost on the town website, like from like IT support, or is it just Emma all by herself can?
It's
You know, the assistant planner always
It's
does
really,
everything.
it's Emma, yeah, and I know how to do it, and I can upload documents to the website, and so it's really taking the documents, they're in PDF form. The applicants have to provide all documents to us in PDF form, and so we're just putting it up on the website. It's literally
What about
dragging and clicking.
Time wise, is it more efficient, or is it the same, or?
They're posted either way, right?
But if it takes you an hour to do it on co-organize, it takes you a half an hour of your time on the town website.
I would say it takes 5 minutes on, can I say 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes 15 minutes to put them up on the town website, to organize the file, then implement the documents, and then it's just a matter of after the meetings, or as more information comes in from a third-party consultant, say CGC comes in and they give us a stormwater, the review of the applicant's stormwater application, we can then take that GCG report that's gonna be filed with the planning board and put it up on the website so anybody can kind of come in and look at it. I haven't dove too deep into how co-urbanize works and and how functionally posting documents on co-urbanize. However, I think it's fairly simple, but both formats are simple. But we are charging applicants a fee to use co-urbanize. So one of the other options would be to roll that co-urbanize fee into a planning board fee and keep it flat rate the same. Just reorganize the fee where the checks get cashed, and those fees could come into the planning board general account, if that makes sense. And then, yeah.
As long as there's no extra work for like the planning board clerk in this whole thing, right?
I don't know about that. I think the clerk has a little bit of heavy lifting to do.
My question.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add about? You used the website the other day, so.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I have not posted anything to co-urbanize, and we are going to explore that a little bit in the next coming weeks. But posting on the website is pretty straightforward. So
I think we should also ask the public who, as members of the public have been using the co-urbanize website to see what's going on. So I'm gonna you know, if somebody in the public has an opinion.
If anybody in the public is watching this meeting, has an interest in co-urbanize, and likes using it, I would say please contact the planning office or Preston or any member of the planning board. Prior to my arrival, which was 2 months ago, it looked like the last projects that were really co-urbanized was used for, or I think it was
128 Main.
128 Main
Heavily used.
was heavily used for co-urbanize, and there was a lot of documents put up on that project, but there was limited things put up onto the town's website. So there's going to be a push and a pull. There's going to be a rub. The question is, do we want to take all the eggs and put them on the town website and just use it to the full extent of the town that the website can provide us, or do we want to duplicate really put information in both places?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think it makes sense to put things in two places. It's duplication of effort and a waste of time. I do think co-urbanize has been a clean and neat place to put things, and I just have to go back and look at it, see if there's other, like, map integrations or something that's like, that makes it a better tool than just posting documents on the website. I have for a long time personally felt that our town website is, in my opinion, it's woefully inadequate. You know, very simply going into the main page, typing in like planning board meetings. Like our planning board meetings aren't on the town calendar that's on the town website.
Well, they are, but not until a few days before the meeting.
I think most people would agree that the website's a bit of a steel trap, personally. So, like, I think we should do it one way. I'm willing to go the town website way. If you guys personally feel that the information's there and people can find it relatively easily, and it's not like navigating through a bunch of windows just to get to it. Like,
Well, the thing is that this is a new dawn, right? A new day, because I'm new, Emma's very new, and we have the ability. Emma and myself have the ability, along with this board. When you guys are all fairly new, I know Preston was the only one. Everyone's new except Preston since 2016, within the last 3 years, right? And so I think this is an opportunity for this board, this committee, to sit back and say, okay, what does our website look like? Because there were things already that Emma said, hey, can we change this? Can we move the responsibilities of the planning board or the town planning office up to the top of the website page and shift things around? So if there's things that you, Joe, as a member, say, hey, you know, this website is a steel trap. You know, I don't think there is direct links to things. Let's talk about it and move it around and change it and manipulate the town the town's page for the planning board and the planning department that fits our needs and fits our goals. To say, you know, I can't speak to other departments' web pages, but I can say we have an opportunity to streamline our pages to say, okay, let's do it. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's take the time. Let's look at it. And if you have any comments, let's address them and have a conversation about it.
I'm more than willing to provide feedback, and my comments were certainly not specific to the planning board. Some page of the website, it's a broader statement about
No, I understand that.
underutilized piece of real estate.
But we have the ability to control our page.
And if we put all these documents, can we name it something? Like they name it co-urbanize, can't we name it something? Because then there's a button to, you know what I mean? Instead of people having to go find new projects, this project, now if they go to co-urbanize and stuff pops up, can we give it a name, you know, Ashland Urbanize, or, you know what I mean? To where
probably trademark infringement, but
I know, but something to where, when we do these things, we can advertise that, yes, it's on the website under.
Yeah. So what we have
whatever,
now is
and they
current
can
projects
click
and
on there,
previous
it's easy.
projects.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I believe, with a little further investigation, but we could kind of get like a snappy URL. It'll still be ashlandmass.com, but we could do / planning project, something like that. So it would be easy to provide that URL to bring them right to that page.
When they say go on co-urbanize, you click and you find it and you go there and then everything's under that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to navigate.
Yeah, well, I think what we should do is each of us should go to the town website, play around with it a little bit for the see how hard it is to get to the planning
100%.
page.
Yeah.
see the difference between the
Give the
planning
feedback.
department page and the planning board page, because they are separate.
Correct,
And-
yeah, and yeah.
And
you
I
know,
will make
and-
a note that the current projects that are on the
Oh,
website
homework.
are
I
under
gotta
the
look at
department
walls,
page
I gotta
and
look
not
at
the board
websites.
page,
Yeah.
so if that will ease
So we may
navigation.
want to do something where we kind
Yeah,
of
we could
unify
have a
them
direct
and
link
look at
and-
not
yeah.
having.
So I think we should have one page.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also, is there any type of contract, like, do we have a contract period where we can't get out of co-urbanized, or is
It's
it?
a,
12-month subscription time.
it's a 12-month subscription, and upon 30 days, we can issue a termination letter, and we can terminate co-urbanized within 30 days after filing a termination letter.
It's pretty good out.
Yeah.
Before we would do that, I would want to create previous projects on the
Yeah.
town website,
Yes.
Yes.
making sure we have all those same documents, so that nothing is
So
lost.
the information is coming back onto the town
Yeah.
webpage.
So it's
The
That would
information
be
from
on
past
co-urbanized.
I believe all the data that's on co-urbanize is, we do have and we do
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big question is actually that downtown project and pulling those comments out.
Yeah.
But again, I'm sure.
There are a
like,
number of projects,
there
some
is
of
a
them go back
method
a
and
few
a-
years, and it would be nice to have
Mhm.
those projects not disappear from the
Yeah.
web.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it's gonna take some time to go through and, just copy all the files over.
Mhm.
That raises that just raised one thought. So we used co-urbanize, we had a map and we asked for community feedback on co-urbanize, and people would literally go into the map and just post statements and comments on different places of the map, right?
Mhm.
And that was kind of collected. I know Michael, if you know what I'm talking about? So, is Michael Herbert aware of kind of where it sounds like we're trying to go with this?
I've had a brief conversation with him about
Yeah.
my thoughts, and I said, and to tell you the truth, I think the town website was not used to its greatest ability. So I think number one baseline, the planning board and the planning department, we need to reorganize our webpage and update it, and I think Emma has tried to do that.
In progress.
In progress.
Yeah. It's a
I think
progress.
with looking at this project, it's given me the idea to say, hey, what is co-urbanized? What are we using it for? Because if we can do this on the town website, I think why, does it make
Extra
sense
money.
to pay extra money onto co-urbanized? The comments, is my knowledge, the comments that were collected on co-urbanized were not public record comments because they were collected on the internet, right? However, on the town website, if we said, please provide public comment to the planning office via email, then those public comments could be sent to the planning board, and therefore those could be submitted to the planning board for public record. It is my estimation that the comments that were submitted through co-urbanized were not part of any public record.
And since it will takes, you gotta post stuff on co-urbanized anyway, and you have to post stuff on town website. But if it's a little extra time, maybe we could come up with some kind of a fee, just a small fee that would go to us, rather than going to co-urbanized to pay for that.
IT fee.
Yeah, exactly, just something to.
And that kind of, and maybe there is and Joe, to speak to your problem, the conversation about a mapping, like a wiki map, which is theoretically used, I've used that in the past with development of a complete streets program. Maybe there's a different, if this committee says, you know what, co-urbanized, we can see it moved to the town website, but we would like a geographical map that displays new projects and collects comments. I think we could start looking for a different tool other than co-urbanize that would suit that bill a little bit better. Because I think right now we have two tools that are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
If we have one tool that does one thing and then another geographical tool that does another, I think we move that. I think that's a step forward.
Cool.
I think it's good we're looking into this.
Yeah, I think.
Thanks for taking the initiative to.
I think we need to look into it.
Yeah.
And we'll come up with more stuff for you to do with the free time you'll have, since you're only doing it once.
Yeah, 100%. But if there's something that could be streamlined, let's talk about it. And since I'm new, Emma's new, we're fairly new here. let's look at it to say, hey, what was
Refresh
going
everything,
on?
yeah.
You know, was this right? Was this wrong? Can we do it differently?
Having a new pair of eyes on things, two new
It's
pairs
a-
of eyes on things
It's a different, because it's just a different perspective. I bring it to perspective. Everyone here brings it to perspective. Emma brings a different perspective. You know, what's going on here? How do we work through this process? And can we make a better website? Probably. You know.
Well, I'm sure you can. There's some
Yeah.
websites that it's hard to find a lot of stuff. I even got notices saying, notice of the meeting, and I went on there and they didn't have it listed.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I got an email saying that here's agenda for the meeting, and I went on the website and the date of the meeting wasn't even posted yet.
Mhm.
So
Now-
I
Yeah, technically, there's a separate calendar for the planning board from the planning department, and one of the planning board
yeah.
meetings got
Right.
put on the planning department calendar
getting
that I don't
problems right
subscribe
now,
to, so I
Preston.
can
Yeah,
on my
it-
phone.
One
Yeah.
calendar with everything on it.
Yeah.
All kinds of crazy things.
I think that needs to be all clarified and justified. Other
But yeah.
than that, there's been, there's been the one project, 81 West Union. That's the only project we're looking at. I am starting to dig into the planning. The office received a grant from the state for $27,000 to look at the zoning in the downtown. That was a grant that Sheila Page applied for. That money is still available, and I'm starting to have conversations. I got confirmation from the state that that money is still there, and work can be kind of be done. So therefore, I think it makes sense to, since the money's there, it's a grant. We're talking about our downtown. We're doing work in the downtown. Is to really kind of follow through on that grant. So I hopefully will have some more news for you, I would say, in the coming weeks about that grant and how we want to kind of facilitate it. Obviously, I'm going to take the original grant application and hopefully just facilitate the conversation and hopefully get a report going with a consulting firm.
Just one follow up. Obviously, it's coming up in meetings, but the application you received for the Avenue of the Americas, that parcel, what's that road? You started off with your report with this one. Bays.
Village of the Americas?
Village of the Americas.
Village of the
Yeah,
Americas, yes.
apologies. So that application, is there, is the use of that, proposed use of that application in line with the zoning for that site?
So right now, I think that's still a preliminary conversation that's getting thrown around.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. Any other announcements? Future meetings, what do we have on August 8th?
Right now, we have nothing.
I will not be here August 8th.
I will not be here August 8th.
Well, that works out well then.
Just
You're not here
no
either?
meeting.
No, I just mean,
Oh,
there's nothing on the agenda and two
Yeah.
people are gonna be missing, so.
Yeah, August 8th, we have nothing on the agenda. August 22nd, we do have a couple of things back on the agenda.
You won't be?
I will not be.
Okay,
Did
we
you
do not
say
have
that
quorum
just
on
to be-
August 8th. Let us
Thank you.
cancel the August 8th
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, so are you not gonna be here on the August 8th?
I will not be.
Okay, so
No,
let's
just-
cancel the August 8th for the record. We will not be able to get a quorum. However, for the August 22nd meeting, we do already have a couple public hearings. Number one, Village on the Clocktown, has been continued to August 22nd. Then also we'll have 81 West Union, Phase 2, public hearing that night,
That's the 22nd.
22nd.
I will be there.
I will.
I
Yeah,
will.
okay.
And then we'll continue back in September, with September 12th, and Eversource will be back in front of this planning board.
Okay.
Is, never mind, I'm good for now.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
That it?
It
I'm gonna make a
is-
motion then that we end this meeting at 8:47.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.